Okay, so we just did the podcast on return on rare and invest in the future. And that's the byproduct of running this care flywheel day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, one person, one interaction at a time. But I want to share a story about where I almost got it wrong. Okay. I did get it wrong, but I almost executed it the wrong way. So it's a little bit embarrassing. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I think it'll show where I almost went against that return on rare and creating that byproduct, and I tried to force it. All right, so this is many years ago. This was, I want to say maybe like 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. We were growing as a company, and we had a lot of retailers, a lot of independent retailers, not nearly as many as we have now, but we had a lot. We did not have many of the big guys, so to speak. Okay. Large box retailers, which we did want those. I wanted those because I thought that we could impact more people, get more sales, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was listening to a podcast, and it was a woman. I think it might have been Sarah Blakely, and it was around her Spanx. And she was talking about how she really hustled her way into the department stores. And one of the things that she shared was that she called all the stores and asked them if they had the Spanx in stock. Okay. And so she was trying to create these stores to be like, man, we really need to bring this in because we're getting all these calls about it. So I came up with the brilliant idea that I was going to have one of our employees, I was going to get a binder with all the big guys' phone numbers and just in a list in a binder. And I was going to have him call all day, every day for several weeks, these stores saying, do you have Vortex? Do you have Vortex? Do you have Vortex? So I had the whole thing set up for this to go. I had talked to my dad, got his approval, very, very reluctant. Okay. So this was at the point where my dad was definitely, he had let out the rope. He was giving me opportunities to run things, and really figure out for myself whether they would work or not. I could tell he was really uncomfortable with this, but he ultimately said, okay. So we were getting ready to go, and I remember the night before he was going to start making those calls, and I was going to bed, and I just could not sleep, okay? I could not get to sleep. I was tossing and turning, and it was all about this calling all these department stores and try to create this groundswell of interest so that they would then bring our product in. So finally I came in the next day. I even prayed about it, and I was very, very convicted that we couldn't go forward with this plan. All right. So I went, made a beeline to my dad's office. I told him, I said, we just can't do this. It's basically lying. We'll drum up interest that really isn't there or to that level. What if happens if they bring us in and then they find where are all these people that were calling us? And of course, when a retailer gives you a chance, they bring you in and the product doesn't sell, they kick you out, and it's really hard to get back in again. So I thought, practically speaking, this isn't good, but really it was more about just how I felt from a values perspective, from a moral perspective. This was not aligned with my values, with my father's values, with the company's values, and just the shared belief that we had around taking care of customers. And so we killed the idea. I told the guy that had the binder, you should have seen it was like the weight of the world off his shoulders. It turned out he really didn't want to do this. He felt really uncomfortable about it. I think we threw that binder away. So what happened? Well, what we did is we just dug in with the retailers who were interested in Vortex and selling Vortex, and the customers who were interested in buying Vortex and were using Vortex. We focused on the things that were right in front of our face. And there's another phrase that I like, which is basically, he who is faithful with a few things will receive many things to be faithful with. In other words, if you're responsible for the things that are just right in front of your face and right in your circle of influence, your circle of influence and what you're responsible for tends to grow. And that's what happened to us. Eventually, those big retailers did come calling. They did come asking for Vortex. And when we went in those stores, we didn't have to worry if customers were going to buy from them. We already knew because the groundswell of interest was really there. It wasn't artificial. It wasn't fake. So, key principle right now, you guys are listening to this, and whatever area in your life that you want to grow, like I wanted to grow our retailers, okay? What I would say is right now, you have something on your plate, on your circle of influence. You need to be faithful with that. You need to execute on that. You need to crush it with those responsibilities. And guess what? When you do, the plate will grow, the responsibility will grow, and your opportunity to have a bigger impact will grow. So be faithful with the small things, and you will have the opportunity to be faithful with the big things.